it. I'm sure we're going to have a few more people jump on. So let me start. And what I wanted to start out with saying is I would love to get your feedback, love to get your input. I want to make this as interactive as possible. Kind of like I've said before, it's no fun if I'm just talking the whole time. So I love to get your feedback and what you've seen out there, what you feel is working for you, questions, things like that. We'll be standing by to answer questions, and Brian will as well. So today is really, I have a few key things I want to talk about, but it's really how to select your luxury market area of focus. And so today's topics really is, what is luxury? What does that actually mean? And we have some, a few different definitions of that, but I want to do a little bit of a deeper dive into that because I really think it helps define who and what we're going after. We're going to talk about the human element as it relates to luxury, how to select your area of focus. So if you're thinking you want to maybe increase your price point, how to select that area, what is the analysis that you need to do in order to make sure that what you're going after is sort of a viable area that will produce results. And we'll talk more about that. How to develop your product knowledge. So if you're entering in kind of a new space, how do you become the expert in that area so you can really talk the talk and know your market area? And 5, I want to dive into how can you find luxury buyers and sellers right now? Like what can you do right now to go after luxury buyers and sellers? So I'm going to give you some key things that you can implement today that will help you start working that area. And then how to get started. So if you're somebody who hasn't worked in the luxury space, if you haven't really, you don't have a track record, let's talk about how you can get started in that and kind of get your feet wet with that. And I'll give you some ideas there. And also the image of a luxury agent. This really doesn't have to do with what you wear, the car you drive, or anything like that. But we'll dive into what the mindset is that you need to have when working in the luxury space. Okay, so I want to open up this to a question, and I think it'd be great, since we've got our lenders on here too, for you guys to help us as well, because I think from the lending perspective and luxury might be a little bit different than the non-luxury. So I'd like to get your input on that as well. So how do you guys define luxury real estate? And go ahead and unmute yourself and tell me what your thoughts are. There's no wrong answers.
I mean, I guess I'll just chime in here to kind of help here. Once again, John Soricelli. We don't necessarily have a definition of luxury per se, but more we decide as a kind of jumbo, which is kind of synonymous, I guess, with luxury. So from that perspective, it's traditionally a loan amount on a single family property in excess of $822,000. Right. Okay. So if the client is borrowing, $822,000 or more, they fall into different guidelines or different products or different programs than someone 822 or less.
Okay. And I imagine the paperwork might look slightly different, right, some of those things. Anybody else? Thank you for that, John. How do you define luxury?
Expensive.
Expensive, exactly.
What I can afford.
And getting more and more expensive every day.
Yeah. I guess even to add to that, the price point, I guess, would vary depending on where you are physically, right? Because if we're looking at Riverside or San Bernardino County, that loan amount threshold is 542.
Right.
So it depends on where we are physically, what that luxury might look like.
100%. Yep. And I'm going to touch on that. So super, super important, right? But is the person different, or are they the same? So we'll talk about that in a second. So RE/MAX defines luxury, meaning you can put that property in the RE/MAX collection and get other types of advertising and things like that as double the average price for your zip code, for the zip code that property is in.
So the average price, not the median price.
I believe it's the average price. Yeah. So double that That's how REMAX defines it. NAR and other places will define it as the top 10% of the price point in your market. That top 10% of the market. And so to John's point, we have luxury sectors within the various cities in, I'd say, Southern California and even in Orange County, right? So the luxury price point in Huntington Beach might be slightly different than the luxury price point in Newport Beach or Newport Coast, you know, that type of thing. So we do have luxury sectors within our cities. So that's why I think they use the zip code. And so interestingly, you know, with regards to a jumbo loan, you see that you've got the different price points, 822 for Orange County, and the Riverside County areas at 542 as they define it. But let's talk about the luxury and the human element. So the human element really is defined as any agent, any of us who's giving service to someone that is more affluent and prominent in their community. Okay, so let's talk about that. Who are the luxury buyers? They tend to be entrepreneurs, business owners, people that have, you know, a significant amount of wealth to be able to purchase property here in Orange County. So I want you to think of the human element as a key factor, and who is that person, and how are they different than the non-luxury buyer or seller? So let me throw that out first. What do you guys see as some of the main differences in the human element as it relates to luxury? I'll throw out what I know real quick, and then I'll throw it back out at you, is they tend to have advisors. People that have some level of wealth have financial planners, they have accountants. They want to be advised, and they're used to being advised, and they want a real estate advisor. That's.
And I think, you know, you made a point there about the entrepreneurial type, you know, those people that, and so those have a lot of advisors. They've got the correct people telling them, the CPAs, so on and so forth, and they've done really well for themselves. So they're very, you know, affluent as to what they want and what they want to buy. And, you know, that's important that we, you know, you play to their role and what they're looking for. And you got to understand a lot about the upgrades in the housing and the type of housing and how it was built and so on and so forth, because that's, they're going to already know this stuff going in. So it's really important to be educated in that.
Right. So almost even, that's a good point, even more educated on those homes, the area and all of that, than maybe the non-luxury, right? So we have to really work at becoming sort of the expert in that market area. So they trust, we are a trusted advisor. So John and Mark, what about in the lending world? How do you see the human element play out in terms of luxury versus non-luxury?
Well, I guess I'll chime in. Mark can follow, I guess. I think the priorities and the thought process, as well as processing information, is different, right? So the client might be more interested in understanding, to Brian's point, additional details about the loan, about the process, about the documentation. They may have additional folks in their ear, right? Those additional advisors, they may want to have some additional opinions. In addition, they're open to different strategies, right? Whether it be from a documentation perspective, whether it be from a cost perspective, buying down interest rates, not looking at some different types of loan programs. So I think, you know, and they may be self-employed, or that, you know, discipline wise, it doesn't necessarily vary. But to Brian's point, a lot of times, you know, they have to make more money to qualify for the larger loan, right? So they become a little bit more astute. You know, you see properties now in trusts where they usually may not be in trusts, stuff along those lines.
Okay, great. Thank you. Mark, I'm not sure if Mark's still on.
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying on that. And in terms of the loans, yeah, so we see them, you know, typically I get more questions on loan products compared to, I just want a 30-year fix, or I just want a 15-year fix. It's, you know, I'm seeing more people a lot of them will go, they want like an interest only product. You know, because their goal is not necessarily to pay the minimum payment, but they may be wanting to pay it down quicker. And they know if they're making chunks, you know, larger principal payments, it's going to pay it off quicker. But some do want it just for the cash flow. Like John was saying, like you have the self-employed borrowers that some months they have more money, some months they don't. And they're sometimes, and I don't want to make this sound wrong, but sometimes they're more savvy in terms of their investments and things like that. And saying, well, hey, if I'm only borrowing money at 2.5 or 3%, I'm going to put that money in, you know, if I'll borrow more and I'll put that money here and I'm only going to pay interest on this so I have more cash flow each month.
That's a real good point from both John and Mark. And Mark, what you're saying about the interest only, seeing definitely a lot of that where they are, because they have the advisors and they have the amount of money, they are putting their money in other areas to invest and taking these interest only loans because it's not really important to them because they have the money to make those payments. They're looking at an appreciation factor sometimes versus a pay down factor.
Correct.
So very, very much more strategic because they have the ability to, they've got different options and they are a little bit more strategic than maybe the non-luxury, which has a little bit less money and the best route to go is a 30-year fixed, and that's great. I'm not saying anything wrong, just trying to really outline the differences between the two. And I think it's important to have strong lender partners that can speak to those people with regard and give them options and figure out what is your goal with this loan, and then taking a look at the products that will help them achieve their goals. So super important that we know that. So if we say that the human element also defines luxury, it's not just a price point. Can a luxury purchase be at a lower price point? So for example, I'll give you an example of somebody that I helped out buy several, you know, multi-million-dollar homes, but also wanted to help his kids buy a home. He was the purchaser, but we bought his kids a $700,000 home. That, because of the human element, I'm still dealing with the same person, even though it's a lower purchase price. So always be thinking about that as you're dealing with people and how the human element really does play a factor in luxury. All right. Okay, so let's talk about the luxury buyers and sellers. We talked about they are used to having advisors. They really look to real estate professionals and lenders as their advisors, right? They need to see us as their trusted advisor and the expert in the business. They expect 5-star service. So don't forget that you're in the service business, right? And so what does that actually mean to you? What is the 5-star service that you guys bring to the table or will add to your mix of services when it comes to luxury?
Well, they expect you to be there every step of the way and to have a good team of people to take care of things for them. They really, I mean, they've been successful in their life and they want to make sure that they have a top-notch agent next to them all the way through. I mean, it's Nordstrom service all the way down the line.
Right. And I find that our vendor partners are really an extension of us too, right? Because we're referring, we're recommending, and that, you know, our vendor partners are an extension of us and they have to give the 5-star service as well. So think about what you might add to your mix, or think about, you know, the fact that we are in a service business and that we have to pay special attention to have sort of that Nordstrom service. They are willing to pay for good advice. You will find that there's less commission cutting and things like that. So if you really want to, if one of the reasons you're going after luxury is they aren't being hit by the disruptors, right? You don't find a lot of these companies that are disrupting our industry really going after luxury. Luxury market still wants an agent to represent them. Okay. And they expect you to be a market expert, kind of to Brian's point earlier. You need to know your market, and we're going to jump into that as well. So if you're thinking about increasing your price point, where do you start? Let's talk about how to decide your target market, what research you need to do before you get started, because it's a commitment and it's an investment. And really how to develop your own product knowledge so that you are the expert. And then I'll jump into some ways to find luxury buyers and sellers right now. So what is your target market? All right, are you looking to go straight to that top 10% that we talked about? Or are you looking to simply increase your price point that you're working in? Now for Huntington Beach, what do you guys see as the luxury price point in Huntington Beach?
I would say probably, 2 million and up.
That's kind of what I think also, 100%. So about 2 million and up. Now, if you wanted to really just go after that million to 1.5 million, that's something that maybe some of you are coming to this meeting thinking that you want to target a new farm area, something like that. So the first step is really to identify that price point that you're interested in going after. Okay, and that area. And then you need to have a plan of attack. What are you going to do to be consistently marketing that area? So first of all, I want to suggest don't give up your bread and butter business. Don't go, okay, I'm all in for luxury and I'm just going to hit this hard, right? Let's not do that, but let's think of adding it to one of your key sources of business, right? So if you're getting a lot of business from your database, your sphere of influence, still keep working that. If you've got some good referral sources, keep working that. Maybe think of this as adding to your key source of business, because we always say we like you to have 3 to 5 methods of lead generation. So if this is a new one, let's do some research and analysis before you get started, okay? Because it is a commitment of time and money. So one of the things you should do is if you've targeted a certain area, you want to look at something above 4% turnover rate. So how can you get that information? Go to a title rep. Your title rep will be able to pull all that information for a geographic area. You could look on the MLS, look and see, is anybody really dominating that area? Like if you're going to hit downtown Huntington Beach, who are you going up against?
Quite a few people.
Flag,
Scott, Jody,
Stanfield,
McLeod. Yeah.
So you just need to know who you're going up against. You need to know that market and know that and to decide whether you want to go after it or not. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but you just need to be aware of who's working that farm, who might be dominating that farm, and then you decide if you want to go after it or not. So turnover rate, is anybody dominating the farm? Demographics, meaning who are the people in this farm? Like I'll just take Huntington Beach, for example. There are some, a lot of housing tracts that have an elementary school in the middle of them, right? Are these young families looking to potentially move up? Are they 2-story homes with a lot of elderly people in them that might be wanting to move down and downsize? It's important to kind of get a sense of who is in your market so that you can do some strategic marketing to those groups, right? So know who you're going to be marketing to. And 3, do you feel comfortable there? Is this a place where they're kind of your people, right? You're comfortable in there. You can resonate with those people. And number 4, think about getting involved in the community in some way, some level of social farming. So whether it's hosting a social event in a local park, or I've got some other ideas here that I'll throw out at you, but think about getting involved in the community in some way. And when it comes to luxury, the luxury buyers and sellers really want to feel like you are part of that community. Okay, so think about how to get involved in more of a social way. Anybody want to add anything to that I missed? Okay, So do your research, do your homework before you take the leap. So next thing is to figure out, I need to become the expert in this area. I need to know this area inside and out so I can really advise the luxury buyer or seller as I go, because they are going to expect that, right? They are going to expect that from you. So why is it important? Number one, it increases your professionalism right off the bat. You're prepared to answer questions. You know what I think it really does? I think it really gives you confidence, and that confidence comes through. So if you're a newer agent on this meeting, if you are someone who is looking to, go into a new area, there's nothing better than knowing your market to give you confidence. Right? Would you agree, Brian?
Absolutely. Well, it's so important because you getting to know your product line too. And it's just like moving into a new area. When I look back, when I came down here 10 plus years ago to Huntington Beach area, what I did was I went to every single broker preview, every single meeting, every single event that there was, so I could learn Huntington Beach inside and out. And within a year, I pretty much knew every neighborhood, every attribute to these neighborhoods, and talked to people. And a lot of people that have been here years and years or been agents here forever don't know as much as I know about the areas. So same thing in the luxury market. You have to know, where this is, what type of buyers they are, just learning those areas inside and out. Are they gated communities? Are they guard gated? Are they, what's the product that's in there? Is it like Rossmore where they're tearing down houses and building new ones? You got to really understand that, learn that, and know your product line when you go in. And I always think about, when you walk into a house with a first time buyer and they see granite, and it's the cheapest granite you can get, but they're excited. Oh my God, look at this granite countertops. But if you're doing that with a luxury buyer, that's a little bit different. Those granite countertops aren't going to go too far. So you have to know all this different types of flooring and countertops and upgrades and so on and so forth.
There's nuances, right? There's these nuances that you really can't know unless you just get out there, start previewing homes, get to know the area, do the broker preview, because just sitting on the MLS looking at pictures, it just doesn't do it. It just does not do it. So even though we've been locked down for the last, year and a half, and now things are opening up, really make a point to put it in your schedule and time block that time to go preview property. Because you know what it does, and it doesn't matter who you're speaking to, but it creates that authenticity when you're speaking to people, that confidence.
It's the same thing too, like when I was saying about learning Huntington Beach inside and out. Now's the time now with all this opening up is to go to new home developments, the new home developments that are building some beautiful homes, some beautiful luxury with, amazing options that are going into them. And if you go visit those, you're going to learn so much just by visiting those to be able to speak professionally enough with that confidence when you're with that client.
Right. And even the trends that, right, they're going to have the, everything's going to be on trend, and yeah. And giving you that credibility. So one of the things that you can do, like, beyond, going to broker preview and previewing homes, is find 5 or 10 homes in the area that you can talk about. So set a goal to go, you know what, this week I'm going to find 3 to 5 homes that I can talk about. Like either have a cool, it's a view property, or it has something that you can speak to, because you would be surprised at how much it could come up in conversation just within your sphere of influence and people that you're out and about with. So set a goal to find those homes, because then you really can be speaking like the expert just around the people that you already know and that you socialize with. So create a morning routine that really gets you prepared for the professional day. COVID created a situation where we were all in our sweats for a long time, like about a year. So now is the time to have that morning routine where you get up, take a shower, and start your professional day. Because if you aren't, I guarantee you somebody else is. And if they meet you, they're going to beat you. And this is a competitive market that we're in. And so be committed to it. Be committed to it and time block that time and stick to, honoring your time commitment to yourself and to your business.
No, absolutely. And I just want to interject on that too. It's not about always putting a tie on, but it is presentation that you have. And I look at some of the top, I put a sport coat on almost every single day, or I have one with me because I'm prepared. And when I look at some of the like topping, like Tim Smith out of the Newport area, who does, 10 million, 15, $20 million homes all day long. He's never in a tie. He's in jeans. He's dressed like I dress, jeans, casual shirt, sport coat. But he's prepared. And then you got other guys. I'll use names out there because I think they're great agents. Adam Rodell, another guy. He's always in a suit and tie every single day, ready to go. If you're walking around in flip flops and shorts and so on and so forth, and somebody walks in your office, they want to talk to you, it's probably not going to go over well. It's how it's perception is everything.
Yeah, 100%. And it doesn't take much, to just think that through a little bit, and be prepared. And one of the things that I like to say in the kind of the evening routine is just, set stuff out the night before so you are ready to go, and it's not even a thought process what you're going to do the next morning. It just makes things so much easier. What was it, like Steve Jobs of Apple? He only had like black t-shirts and jeans. So because he didn't want to have to think about what he was going to wear the next day. They call that decision fatigue. I think it's worse for women than it is for men when it comes to.
I think Steve Jobs was able to get away with that after he made his billions, though.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I don't think I could stand to have only black and jeans in the closet, but you kind of get the point that if you think about it, just spend a few minutes the night before thinking about it, and it just makes it so much easier to slip it on and get going. So whatever you can do to get out there and get going, the better. So let's talk about the data, studying the data. How do we know? How do we stay informed on what's going on in the market? Right? Because we do have markets within markets, that let's call it the $3 to $5 million housing market is going to be different than the under $1 million housing market, right? We're seeing, we always see markets within markets. So how do you guys get your data? How do you know beyond these meetings that we have every couple of weeks? How do you stay informed?
Well, hopefully a lot of people are using the title companies for some of their data. They can get that. It's also data's out there under the CAR website, under the NAR website. There's so much information out there. You just have to go after it and find it. And then you can get it. You can break it down to areas and understand, the big area of Huntington Beach, and then break it down to downtown, and then break it down into the harbor and so on and so forth. But yeah, I mean, it's all available out there. You just have to go after it and get it.
Right. And then on more of sort of a macro level, for sure, CAR's got some good information. Stephen Thomas reports on housing. I think he does a Facebook video every Friday at 3:00. I listen to those a lot. Really gives you some trends in the market. He's a numbers cruncher, so always a good way to find out some good, more macro information about what's going on in Southern California and Orange County specifically. So, spend some time, time blocking time to kind of just get to know what the trends are, because I'll tell you, people are talking about real estate right now, and you need to know what's going on. So to Brian's point earlier, know the nuances. Like, how do you get to know those nuances in a particular area? Go spend time there, go hang out there, find recreational activities in those areas that you can really start to delve into some of the nuances of a particular area. Find creative ways to be part of the community. So find opportunities to, volunteer or sponsor activities, things like that, that really get you face to face with people. Because the postcards these days, even though we are sending them out, and I'm not saying not to, but just sending postcards to a neighborhood really is not going to do it for you. You really need to get face to face with people and find ways to be part of the community. And when you are, you will find it much more rewarding when you get out there and get face to face with people. So think about ways that you can do that. So let's shift to how to find business now. What are things you can do where you've said, okay, I've identified this area. This is what I want to go after. What can I do to get started to really get a leg up? First, maybe finding luxury sellers. Look at your past clients. Look through your database. Are there people that you've worked with in the past that might be moving up into that luxury market? Go through your phone. Look for people that you might just make a phone call to, ask them how they're doing, find out if they're thinking about making any changes to their real estate plans for the year. I'll tell you, I think COVID really created a situation where people have rethought their housing. And so this is a time, if you haven't done it, to get on the phone and really touch base with people, because people are making sort of these life-changing decisions, whether they're going to buy a vacation home or they're going to downsize or whatever, sell investment property. You know, a lot of people have done that. So call them and have those conversations. So there's some gold in your database, in your phone. Scan through those and start making some phone calls. So beyond the people that you already know, something else you can do is, in your market area that you've identified that you want to go after, look for some older expired listings. Go back 1, 2, 3 years of some expireds that people aren't calling anymore, and call those people up and find out if they are at this point in time they're thinking about selling again. Tap into the absentee owners in your farm area. Who are those non-owner occupieds that might not be marketed to as much, but really want to know what's going on in that neighborhood and who might be thinking about doing something? I know a couple agents who've been very successful with just handwritten notes to people in those areas. And if you have a buyer that's looking for something and you cannot find them a property, if they've narrowed it down to a couple different neighborhoods, why not send a note out to the absentee owners in those neighborhoods? They're not getting marketed to as much as the homeowners. So try to find some different avenues. You're not only going the extra mile for your clients, but you might be able to find, if it's not a match, a listing in that mix. So call your title rep, ask them, they can provide you with all of that data. Find that farm area and ask them for all the absentee owners. Also ask them for any stats from applications like Remine. That's the application that will show kind of, they score whether somebody is likely to move or not. And maybe you call those people, maybe you drop them a handwritten note or a letter.
And Remine is accessible on our CRMLS site, right?
Right, I believe it is.
Okay.
And I think it used to be that you got the first 100, your search, first 100 free. I'm not sure.
I personally have not used it, but I've heard some really positive things about it. So that's something I need to look a little deeper into.
Yeah. So it scores them. I think, I don't know exactly what their algorithms are, but whether it's triggered on a title change or something like that, but somehow what they are giving a score to homes in a particular geographic area of people that are likely to move. So it might be something to definitely take a look at. And you're kind of doing two things at once. You're really going the extra mile for your buyers, but you're also doing some level of prospecting, right, in that area. But the bottom line is, create a plan for going after your market. Okay, create a plan. If you're gonna dedicate the time and money, create the plan to go after it. Another way to go after it, a new area, is maybe to create your own organic networking group. There are networking groups out there, but if you haven't found one that you're really interested in, you could create your own, invite other professionals who have high net worth individuals in their database. Maybe it's a lender, maybe it's a financial planner, and create your own organic networking group where you can refer business back and forth. I know a couple agents that are doing investment groups. They've created investment groups, and they hold little investment seminars on Zoom. They're doing on Zoom now. They will eventually do it in person, but they're doing investment seminars, and they're inviting their lender to come in and speak. They're inviting financial planners to come in and speak. And they're also inviting people that have invested in property in the past and giving their insight into it. And what we find with these types of kind of an event, kind of an educational event, is that you will get people to show up, and it's easier, much easier. The conversion rate on those events is really high. So you may get fewer people to show up, but the conversion rate is super high. So if you're looking for those types of people, be proactive and create your own group. Okay. Look for social connection opportunities. Are you involved in sports, golf, tennis, whatever? What are your interests? If they're hiking, create a special group. Whatever it is, get out there and get in front of people. That's the name of the game in this business. Okay. All right, so really quickly, I want to talk about how to get started when you don't have the stats behind you. So if you're somebody who hasn't done a lot of luxury, but you want to dive into it, but you're a little nervous about the fact that you have never sold before, use your RE/MAX stats. Use our RE/MAX Terrasol, and you can talk to Brian, you can talk to Leo. They will give you some stats that you can add to your listing presentation for our office or even for RE/MAX. And on the RE/MAX Max Center, there's a ton of different graphics that will enable you to speak to the RE/MAX stats as well. So think about going and using that. And if needed, partner with someone in our office that has the experience in that marketplace. So if you're getting an opportunity to list a $5 million home and you're like, I've never done this before, talk to Leo, talk to Brian. They will have the resources to help you, because what you will learn will be invaluable. Okay. All right. And lastly, your image as a luxury agent. I'll end on this note. It really isn't about, driving the right car and all of that. I'm not talking about that kind of image. I'm really talking about your internal image, the internal upgrade that you need to do and work on, which is developing that success posture and mindset of confidence. Knowing your market will create that confidence. It's not arrogance. It's not coming off with some airs. Nobody likes that, right? But they do want to work with people who are confident and know what they're doing and are authentic, right? So increase your knowledge and professionalism. Look to give that 5-star service, okay? And be that trusted advisor. All right, so lastly, here's the things I want you guys to write down. Here's how to get started. Determine the area and price point you want to focus on. Number 2, analyze that area. Make sure it's worth going after. Some people have gone after geographic areas that they loved. They thought it was great. And 2 years down the road, they realized everybody else loves it and they're not moving. And nobody's moving out of that area. So make sure that turnover rate is worth going after, okay? Start implementing the steps we discussed about becoming the expert in that area, and start working that consistently. Create a plan to work it consistently. So next week, we're gonna talk about marketing luxury. How is that different? We're gonna talk about the luxury open house, how you can really maximize that. We'll talk about really quickly, because we've done it before, the listing presentation, and I have a script for you on setting expectations with sellers, okay? And why international marketing is important. RE/MAX is a great international brand. You guys should use it to your advantage. So we'll talk about why that's important. And then how to develop your own luxury marketing strategy. So that's going to be next week or next time. All right. So I'm going to leave you guys with that. And any last minute comments?
Karen, I have a question. This is Robin. I've been thinking about doing an investment group for about a year now, and I really want to do it, but who would I invite to that group? To
It's
make it
that already exists
for investing, but also for, to grow my business.
Did you say, who do you invite to the group?
Yeah,
or-
who would I ask to join my group?
Oh, you were on to create your own.
I want to create my own investment. My friend did that and made a lot of money, and people are doing this a lot now. And my husband has kind of a small one, and I just thought it would be a great business thing, and to invite speakers to, but who would I initially start up to invite the group? What types of people?
I definitely have a lender, because I think that the lending, is a key factor a lot of times. And sometimes people have all cash, but a lender, who else? You could have somebody that has you could have somebody that has a great story about investing in property and what it's done for them, their own financial, wealth and future and all of that as a speaker. Who else, guys, could we advise her to include? A financial planner, maybe?
Yeah, CPA is a good addition as well.
Okay.
Someone that can speak to the tax advice and stuff along those lines.
But I was thinking initially, do I invite friends to have a permanent group, and start this club kind of thing? So I guess Spear, just invite people from my Spear, or is that not the right way to go?
They would be your audience, I think. But having some more of these professional people, I think they would be permanent people, like an accountant, financial planner,
Okay.
lender. Yeah. Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
I think a title rep would be great. If you have someone from title too, they can pull information on properties and give some insight on what markets are doing.
And Robin, it might be that you have sort of a smaller core group, but maybe you create a topic each time you meet and invite your database of people and have it more discussion based, and have your accountant and lender and so forth speak to that particular topic and create. So you get two things from it. Go ahead, Brian.
Tina just interjected too on the chat there, which a couple of things that she said about working with a client on an earlier thing about both were attorneys, and they both did an IL interest only loan for a $2.5 million purchase. And yes, they were very demanding of her time. So once again, that 5-star service. But going back to Robin's situation, she also just interjected 1031 exchange expert. I think that's an excellent choice to get somebody in there that, if there's companies like Landco Exchange and, different people out there that do this, and not only will they get business from it, you're going to see people that are going to be wanting to do business.
I actually have a listing coming up next week with that we're doing a 1031 exchange. That would be a great idea too.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yeah, so you could think of it as a networking group where you guys all network together, or maybe you guys go in together and do some of these more, events where you guys can answer questions. And the beauty of that is they can all invite their database as well of people that they know. So not only are you reaching out to people in your own database, Robin, but you've got now an audience of a lot of other people that are getting their eyes on you as well as the real estate professional. So it really helps out in a lot of different ways, how you want to structure that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Anybody else? Not sure if that was somebody talking. Okay, well, I'll go ahead and wrap it up and say thank you for everybody for being here. Thanks for sticking with us, and thanks for all of your input and making this really interactive today. I wish you a day and a week of happy selling, and thanks for listening.
Thanks, Karen.
Okay, take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Have a good
Appreciate
week.
it. Thank you. Have a good one.
Bye.